YouTube, so we're back, of course, talking Final Fantasy VII. We're talking Sephiroth. We're talking Sephiroth Redemption Arc. This has kind of popped up recently because of the recent Ever Crisis trailer where we're seeing, like, young Sephiroth. He's kind of a good guy. I thought we already discussed this, or at least a dedicated video for this. But looking at my YouTube studio thing, searching up Sephiroth, I have 31 videos with Sephiroth in the title, and not one of them is about a redemption arc, so we must have talked about this in a different video. I know we definitely discussed it, so it must have been like a video where I went on a tangent like I typically do. First up, like, Sephiroth is a great character, right? But he's a villain. I think we're all probably fans of Sephiroth. I wouldn't necessarily, I guess, fault somebody for wanting him to have, like, this good guy ending, so to speak, because obviously he had, like, a tragic backstory. But at the end of the day, he's a villain. He's a super villain. He tried to destroy the planet, in case you didn't play Final Fantasy VII. He also slaughtered everybody in Nibelheim. Also, Sephiroth, I guess, if you want to be specific, killed Aerith, right, in front of our group. Like, murdered Aerith, cold-blooded. No reason. She didn't have to die in that moment. Just did it to do it. And even if my guy has, like, a tragic backstory, why did the people of Nibelheim have to die? He just did that shit to do it, right? I'm pissed off. I'm possibly a Cetra. I was created with Genova cells, etc., so I guess everybody's got to die. Like, what? But, like, let's move forward a little bit to Remake, right? Remake is potentially, just potentially, some sort of, like, a sequel type thing, right? So that means, like, the history of the Remake Sephiroth, he's already done that shit and potentially going to try to do it again. But let's also not forget the alleyway discussion that Sephiroth has with Cloud in Remake, where he fucking brags about killing his mom.
The sound of her voice, pleading for me to spare you. The shiver of her flesh yielding to cold steel.
Not only does he brag about that, he goes on, as we've learned in, like, interviews, to specifically quote what Claudia says in, like, her final moments, essentially.
Which is why I must ask you this one favor. Don't worry. It's a simple thing. Run, Cloud. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live.
Yeah, he's a terrible person. Not only is he bragging to Cloud about killing his mother, he's like, also, these are her final words, and I'm going to say them to you. Absolutely fucking irredeemable. So why would somebody expect a redemption arc? Also, how would that even work, right? What's the redemption arc? Is it he teams up with our group and we all take down Genova together? Is that the end game or something? Like, no. I just don't understand. Like, he's done, like, unforgivable things. Killing Cloud's mom, Tifa's dad, and everybody they've ever known, essentially. They would never forgive him. Like, how would it even work? It just doesn't even make sense. Conceptually, it doesn't make sense. I'm kind of back and forth a bit on the video because I'm trying to play a bit of devil's advocate. I don't mind, like, Genova being, like, a way bigger villain when it comes to Remake, because we obviously fight her and shit throughout the FF7 original story, but, like, if she's, like, the ultimate villain that we fight at the end of the game, I wouldn't even entirely hate that. I mean, we've already fought Sephiroth with Remake. I don't know if we're going to fight him again with, you know, Rebirth, or who the boss is going to be at the end of Rebirth. But if, like, the final boss is Genova, that's okay. But where's the redemption arc come in? It's like Genova's, like, overlooming threat. She becomes, like, so powerful that nobody can stop her except Sephiroth, and so he, like, sacrifices himself to kill her. Is that the redemption arc? Like, I just don't understand. I just don't get what the idea is. Like, people keep talking about a redemption arc for him. What is the redemption? What the fuck is he doing? How is he redeeming himself? To a certain degree, Genova is kind of like the overall villain in some ways, because she's just an absolute plague on the planet. Especially when it comes to, like, geostigma and, like, the soldiers she's enhancing, except for Sephiroth because of degradation. So, like, even people that are compatible with Genova, she eventually still, like, kills them, right? And then obviously geostigma when she gets in the live stream with, like, Advent Children and stuff like that. Like, she's just a plague on the planet to a certain degree. So it wouldn't be surprised if they went a route of, like, making her, like, the final villain or something along those lines. But I don't need a Sephiroth redemption arc for her to be the main villain, if they want to go that route for some reason. I believe where a lot of this, like, redemption arc shit started initially back in the, like, couple years ago was either the Japanese version of the game, or it came from one of, like, the Ultimanias. We have, like, 3 different Ultimanias for Remake. Where we learned that he was, like, talking in a different perspective. Like, the Japanese pronouns, like Ore and Watashi. I'm not going to know all the details on this. I'm going to try to keep it a TLDR. But essentially, with, like, the education scene in Remake, Sephiroth is speaking in, like, a way that he was pre-Nibelheim incident, right? When he's good guy Sephiroth before he fucking goes crazy and kills everybody. Like, he's speaking in a perspective where he's, like, not being, like, manipulated by Genova, or, you know, controlled by Genova, whatever the proper term would be on that. So I think a lot of people are thinking, because he's free of Genova essentially at the end of, like, Edge of Creation, that maybe that's where, like, the redemption arc starts or kicks off or some shit like that. It's kind of the only way you can make, like, a redemption arc work is if they go the route that it was always Genova, like, that's the reason he was doing bad stuff. But I could be wrong on this, and I've never claimed to be the lore master when it comes to FF7. But I believe by the end of Final Fantasy VII, like, he's, like, kind of controlling Genova, right? Like, I think that's why there's Jenova, like Sephiroth clones going around the world doing shit, right? While he's still in the North Crater, kind of like healing or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm pretty sure he's controlling Jenova by the end of FF7. Unless they like retcon like the FF7 story, which isn't an impossibility, let's be honest. It was never just Jenova. It was never Genova's the only reason Sephiroth's doing bad shit, right? But even if they did go that route, I wouldn't personally like it because that would ruin Sephiroth for me. If like Sephiroth being this like badass villain for like 27 years now or some shit, and like you wipe it all away at the end of Remake because it was never him, it was just Jenova, and he's been a good guy the whole time, and we can all... That for me absolutely ruins the character. I want him to be worse. I want him to be the worst Sephiroth. That's the thing too, is like the end of Education where he's, you know, like free of Jenova or whatever, like I want that to be leaned on more going forward. Like it's not Jenova, it was never Jenova. I'm just a piece of shit, and I'm gonna fuck up your life. I'm gonna destroy this goddamn planet. Or whatever, right? I want the absolute worst, low-life piece of shit Sephiroth we've ever seen throughout the entire FF7 compilation. I want him to be beyond supervillain. I want him to do worse than we ever think he could do, right? Even whether it's a retelling, a sequel, what we may expect, not expect, I don't give a shit. I just want very, very bad guy Sephiroth. Free of Jenova, not free of Jenova, I don't give a shit. Do bad shit. I don't want good guy Sephiroth. It just doesn't make sense. And regardless of, like, the discussion we're having in this video, we can talk about stuff, break down lore, discuss things like that. It's just not going to happen. Like, the whole video and discussion is kind of pointless because it's just not going to happen. Lack of a better term, Square Enix would be stupid to do that. Is there people that want that? Maybe, but it's like a small portion of like the FF7 community that would like be on board with like a good guy Sephiroth by the end of the remake story. But the majority of people want him to stay a villain. He's been this iconic villain for so long. Why the hell would they change it? Obviously, it's not impossible to make like a villain a good guy. We've seen it a lot in media. The most immediate example I can think of, spoiler warning if you care, for The Walking Dead is Negan. Like, it's a kind of similar situation because Negan kills like our heroes' friends and family and things like that, like very important people to us as the fans. And he eventually earns his keep and he becomes one of the group, and now there's a goddamn spinoff with Negan and Maggie. He fucking bashed her husband's head in with a bat, right? Like right in front of her when she's pregnant with this kid. Like, it's fucking horrifying. But eventually he kind of becomes one of us. So it's not this like impossible thing, but nobody wants it. And it's a whole different situation because Negan's like a great character in the comics and in the show. He's like the most entertaining character. So you kind of want him to be a good guy. Nobody's asking for good guy Sephiroth. We got good guy Sephiroth with the Crisis Core reunion, Crisis Core, I guess. And we're going to get it with like the First Soldier shit, right? When we get young Sephiroth where he is a good guy. I don't need that with like modern story. I don't need it when we're in the future and we're doing the now story in like the year 2007 essentially. We don't need good guy Sephiroth. I want him to be a goddamn villain. I just want to throw in a bit of my personal bias when it comes to this discussion. I want to see safer Sephiroth. That is one of my favorite like villain designs. It's so memorable. So memorable to the point that I kind of forget sometimes about Bizarro Sephiroth. Like, that is just like a nothing fight to me. I love what safer Sephiroth looks like, and I would love to see like Remake's interpretation of that shit. And that doesn't happen unless he's a villain by the end of the goddamn story, right? So, I don't know. Also kind of hopping back to the beginning of the video with like the young Sephiroth shit we're seeing, like the Ever Crisis trailer, like seeing like a good guy Sephiroth from years ago isn't like some sort of like hint at a redemption arc, because we know he's a good guy. We know pre-Nibelheim incident, pre-Jenova, meeting Jenova and all other shit, we know he's a good guy. So like seeing like him be a young kid, so to speak, and like giving a shit about other people and wanting other people to not die and all this other stuff, like it's not some sort of foreshadowing because he is good then. I mean, he's a good guy in the sense of as good as you can be when you're slaughtering countless lives, potentially innocent lives, in the name of Shinra. He's kind of a good guy. That'll pretty much be the video, my dude. So, of course, pass off to you guys. What are your thoughts on a Sephiroth redemption arc? If you're for it, or even if you're against it, I guess. What is the redemption? Like, what do they do? How would they do it? Do you expect a redemption arc, or is it just going to be bad guy Sephiroth like I think we're all expecting it to actually be? That's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me to dashingdavidbusiness. That's it. Bye. Oh, also, when it comes to like Advent Children, like post FF7, whenever Sephiroth's in the live stream, like he gets rid of his humanity, right? He gives that all up. So if this is potentially taking place post Advent Children, the remake story, then he doesn't want to be human. He ain't trying to be human. He's not seeking redemption. So it's just not gonna happen.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.